Hello, family and friends, and welcome back to episode 4 of I Got Something to Say. I'll say it has been challenging to do the podcast and come up with topics to continuously talk on a podcast, but it's one of those things where I've been wanting to have this type of format and just trying to figure out the right way to put these ideas and start these conversations. So it has to be a challenge that I'm going to welcome because this is what I signed up for. So I hope that everyone had a great Christmas, great holiday season, and I guess this will be the last podcast episode for the year, which is crazy to think. So today I'm going to switch it up and just do some random things that have been on my mind. They're not all related, or they're not at all related. And so one of the things that's been on my mind has been secrets. And if you have any type of social media, TV, YouTube, you have been able to see how secrets have been playing a big role in what has been in the media. And what I mean by secrets is things like the whole situation with Johnathan Majors and Diddy. And I'm not going to go into like giving critiques on the actual situation, but as I was watching different things on YouTube, and I'll actually make sure to tag the videos that I'm actually speaking about on here. The thing about secrets, you guys, I feel like secrets have contributed to so many different issues, and I'll even be transparent and say that sometimes even in my family they will keep secrets, and sometimes I understand it because you don't want to be judged and you don't want to be shamed. But sometimes secrets, I think, have allowed things to continue to happen that if we were able to talk about them and highlight them, maybe we could, work through them, eliminate them so that they do not become generational curses. But as it pertains to Johnathan Majors, I thought it was really interesting that it was known that he was abusive at Yale, and I almost forgot about that. And I remember when the situation with his case now, which I don't know all the details about his case now, but I do remember them bringing up the stuff about Yale and how he was very aggressive there, but I think nothing came of it, and I don't know all the details. But I just feel like when you think about it, it's almost like it was known, but it wasn't known. It's almost like it is a secret, and it's one of those things where people are whispering behind the scenes, but no one is taking like a concrete action. And maybe sometimes there really isn't a concrete action. But if you think about the fact that he was accused of being allegedly abusive at Yale, and then he was able to make it into having actual roles, to me, all of that is very interesting because it's not the same. And I guess it is the same if we go to college, we fill out our resume. Those things don't necessarily follow us unless we do have something on file like a case. And since he didn't have a case, then I guess he is able to get, high paying jobs. So I just thought that it was interesting that it was already known that he was abusive, and then for something like this to happen. So I saw in this particular video I watched in YouTube, they were saying that, a lot of women were online celebrating his verdict. But I think that women are celebrating beyond just ruining a man's career. I know that right now it seems like, oh my goodness, they're calling everybody out, and these successful black men are having to pay. But the reason that I'm not celebrating, but I do rejoice abuse being called out and being dealt with, because there is no reason for anyone to be in a position of power and they're acting, their music, their singing, and being able to have power over other people to do abusive things. Like that cannot continue to go on. And the fact that so much of this has been hidden for so long, it's really scary to me. And I'm glad that it's coming out. I have no qualms about it coming out. No, I'm not on some like ruin everybody's career and ruin their life. But essentially, when people say things like that, I just have to understand. So you would rather them continue their career because they have a career, but you don't care that they have been doing things that they shouldn't be doing? Like, I don't understand that part of it. But even beyond Johnathan, if we think about Bill Cosby, if we think about R. Kelly, these are people that were able to get away with this behavior for so long. And that's because of secrets. That's because of power. They're not able to do these things in isolation. There has to be other people that actually help them and hold their secrets. And yeah, the victim is going to sometimes hold their secret because of the emotional, the psychological abuse. That makes sense. But there's other people who didn't actually experience the firsthand abuse that are keeping the secrets for them. And so this particular content creator, she was also highlighting the situation with Russell Simmons, and she played a clip of the women who had band together against Russell, and they were talking about how Black women have a unique position when it comes to keeping secrets. And the reason that they have a unique position in keeping secrets is because they have been taught to protect Black men at all costs, because they're already very fragile in, you know, the overall society, the overall world, right? So I don't want to be another person, another woman, or another Black person bringing them down and I guess feeding into the narrative that Black men are violent and they do things, you know, like this. When you go in front of this white audience and you talk about a Johnathan Majors, okay, so essentially what they're saying is the reason they didn't want to come forward is because there's only so many stories that are going to leave the Black community and go to the overall United States community, right? So there's things that we talk about as a community that will never make it to mainstream. But what's going to make it to mainstream is like the situation with Johnathan Majors. That's going to make it to mainstream. And then that becomes the view of Black men. The situation with Bill Cosby, are like all these things we're pretty certain they have made it into the mainstream news outlet. And so Black women do not want to be a part of this dismantling of Black men. And then also in our community, the no snitching, all these different things. And if you think about these secrets, they have lived in our everyday life. I know people will talk about celebrities, and sometimes, you know, no one wants to hear about continuously hearing about celebrities, but it's just easy to pick on them because we all know their story, right? So if I tell you my own family secrets, you don't know that. It's not to say you wouldn't be interested in it, but you don't get my point, right? You're not able to see all sides of it. But if we think about secrets, how they have penetrated our own Black families, and just the, you know, the incest, the abuse, how likely it is for Black women to not report abuse. I have actually been in a DV relationship, and when I think about it, I'm like, I never reported it, right? So, and not that I feel guilt, but it made me realize that these women who didn't report other situations that have happened to them, and not to say that it was going to stop the person, but it is an attempt at stopping the person. And I also didn't do those things, right, to maybe make this person feel a consequence for their action by calling the law. If you're in a relationship with someone, you're obviously going to be more sympathetic to them doing things to you, even though you shouldn't be, right? But I'm saying you're not calling on them. I'm not calling on them. And I know for certain that this person has went on to have even more violent relationships. So it could have possibly stopped with me. And when you think about secrets and holding I don't know, holding other people's shame. It's like it's detrimental to all of us, and it's detrimental to our society, and it allows so many things to continue to go on because no one is talking about them. Even a further example, today I was watching a documentary on TLC, which is really good. If you want to check it out, you're able to watch it on Hulu. And I think if you have like Xfinity on demand, I want to say some of the episodes were on there as well. And it's called Taken at Birth. So good, so interesting. But in the documentary, there was a doctor by the name, I think his first name was Thomas, but for sure his name was Dr. Hicks. And it was a white physician in North Georgia. And he is responsible for about 200 illegal adoptions. But the thing about his adoptions is that he was basically hiding extramarital affairs for prominent people in his community. And it was also one of the children so far has been linked to him as well, meaning he was the father of one of these kids. And so what he would do, which was even weirder to me, is that he was inducing each woman at about 30 weeks, maybe 30 to 34 weeks. And then with their paperwork, he would just put the adoptive parents as the birth parents. So these kids are moving from, some of them didn't even live in the same town anymore. Some of them lived in Idaho, like they would be in other states. So then at this point, there's no real record of these people's birth. Now, I did come into the documentary while it was already on, so I don't know the beginning of how he was even caught, but it ended up being on the news. So once it was on the news, a lot of the parents were able to tell their kids like, hey, I used Dr. Hicks to adopt you. And that's how they were able to understand that they were a part of this whole mess, right? But it's that secret keeping, right? Because they were saying that there were whispers in the town that some of the kids might have belonged to him. And then some of the kids belonged to other prominent men in this community. So through a lot of different things that were going on in the documentary, one of the ladies was able to find out that she was actually the daughter of the mayor of the town at that time. And so because Dr. Hicks was connected in hiding children for so many prominent people, they were able to aid him in the cover up, right? Because again, when you're keeping secrets, other people have to begin to sometimes keep those secrets with you in order for other people's lives to be ultimately destroyed. And if you watch the kids that have been affected by this, I mean, a lot of them are just torn up, like they're emotional about it. They may never be able to find out who their actual parents were because of how he handled everything. And then of course he died with all these secrets. So I don't know if all of this came out once he was no longer living. I suspect it did. So this happened in like the 50s and the 60s before the technology that we have now. So they've used some DNA technology to be able to find some of the people's birth parents. But overall, it just dawned on me like the secret keeping. And while technology does make it seem like we're able to view so many more things and like things like that wouldn't happen nowadays, I do feel like that's just not true. And I feel like there are continuing to be secrets that we don't know about and they will be exposed. I'm thankful that technology has allowed people to find out these things that could have been hidden, right? It's so crazy when you think about how the advances in technology have helped investigators and police. And even when I was watching the situation with Biggie, and they were talking about how the police weren't able to communicate with each other. And it might have been beyond or before Biggie, but essentially, if you think about a small town police officer is not going to be able to talk to someone in California if they live in Arkansas, whatever, right? But now, because of advances in technology, you can Google a lot of different things. You can get in touch with more people than you were able to before. So I am thankful for that part of it. But what do you guys think about secret keeping? Let me know. Do you have any insights about that? So like part B to the secret keeping, it's like related but not related. And I just wanted to get you guys input on this. And I want to ask you, what do you think drives successful people? And I want to use Diddy as the example in all the things that have been alleged about him. So when you think about Diddy, do you think that it was really about the art, or do you think it was the drive to be successful had more to do with what will come with success and what they thought they would be able to accomplish once they were successful? So it's like, where was he already in the back of his mind wanting to have power and control over other people, the way they think, and being able to be, treated as this king? It's interesting to me. And it's like, was his first love music, or was it what he thought being in music and having a talent for music would bring him? And I'm not discounting his talent or even questioning that he does actually love music, because I think that part is obvious. Like, he was definitely talented, but everything that we've been hearing about his business practices and stuff that was kind of like right on the surface, if you watch Making the Band, it's like, okay, whoa, was he this all along? When did he become this? It's like the question of the chicken before the egg, like which one came first? Because I'm just starting to find a link between these successful men, and it's not all. I do not want to categorize it as all, but it seems to be this sinister side to the people who are driven to success. And there's no way for me to sugarcoat it, because that's just honestly how I feel. I feel like there's a sinister side to wanting to be that successful. Doesn't mean that you don't have goals and you don't have things that you want to accomplish, but it's something about those people that really want to be in the limelight and they really want to be seen. And it makes you think about what Suge Knight, when he was like, yeah, if you don't want a producer who all in the video dancing, it's like people who really want to be seen, like, and they want this image about them so that they're able to do these things in the background if all the things they are saying are allegedly true. I gotta make sure I say allegedly, like Wendy would say. So it's like, what gives them the juice to go after these big titles and accomplishments? Let me know what you think on that. So this is like question number 3 for you. I want you to answer all these questions too. And so this is just a bonus random thought. And my new favorite phrase, which I haven't been able to say, and I'm going to have to start finding a way to say it. And even though I know this word is kind of banned, but I just love this phrase. And it's, you play stupid games and you get stupid prizes. I don't know why that is so funny to me, but essentially it just means if you do something that doesn't make sense, the outcome, like if you knew it didn't make sense before you did it and it's never made sense for anyone, like you're going to get an unfavorable outcome. So if you play stupid games, you're going to get stupid prizes. As you can see, it literally cracks me up when I hear it. And shout out to Queen Chama on YouTube, because she's the one who put me on to this phrase. I just need to find a way to say it. So this is my first attempt. And so then my next random thought is that I really wish Nick Cannon would just get out of my feed. Whenever I go on Yahoo, it's like all these little dumb stories about Nick Cannon. So today I saw that one of the baby mamas made a game called Canonopoly. I can't even get it out. And it's supposed to be like each child has some unique part of the game that's like Monopoly. And honestly, I'm just like, enough, y'all. Like, we all know how kids are made. We do not want to be a part of Nick Cannon's experiment that he can be the first person to parent kids that live in multiple different homes. Like, one, he's not the first person to do that. And two, I don't know why he keeps trying to make it seem like it's cool and he's got it all under control, and he's on interviews not even being able to name all his children. Like, sir, enough with your antics. Like, just like spend that time figuring out how to parent those many kids, because I live in the house with my kids and I'm just like, ain't no way I'm about to leave this house. I'm just laughing thinking about it, and going to another house to take care of some more kids. No, thank you. And so, Nick, we got it. We see it. We don't need to know any more about which mama you're with this week. We don't. And so this last one could be a little bit long, and I may explore making another video about this because I have a lot of different things to say about parenting. I know that is a sensitive, hot topic. It's a sensitive topic for me because it don't come from my parents' end. There have been, and I'm joking, like, whatever, I'm joking, but there have been a lot of videos recently on YouTube, and I've watched a few talking about millennial parents and their kids not being able to read and not having the best behavior at school, and, you know, all these criticisms about gentle parenting. And I just want to play devil's advocate because I do feel like everything they're saying is true, and I will tag the particular YouTuber that I watch her video, and I love her video. So even though my comments are kind of like devil advocate and opposite of what she said, everything she said made total sense. I get all of her points, and she's not the only one who has those points. So, but I'm just addressing that video because that's the one that I saw. So in the video, they were talking about, she does a great job because she'll compose different clips from social media so that she can give all the points that are kind of like out there right now. So there are several videos about how the kids cannot read. And so for me as a parent, when I hear what they're saying and I think about education, honestly, education has changed. And then the teachers in the classroom have changed, right? The teachers are younger, right? So it's not so much that it's only the parents have changed. The teachers have changed. How the teachers want to approach teaching kids has changed. And let's not act like it hasn't, right? The actual curriculum has changed. They're no longer teaching typing in school. They're no longer teaching cursive in school. A lot of things and a lot of work is done on the computer. Kids are just coming in. Parents are just bringing their kids to school. They're not doing anything different than when I went to school. My mom was just dropping me off at school. And it's not like my mom never helped me with my homework, but I did most of my homework myself. So it wasn't like I was coming home and my mom was doing like all these hours of teaching. So most of my teaching was done at school for the 8 hours that we were there and the 8 hours that our kids are there now. So while the teachers want to make it seem like it's the parents, it's really not. The curriculum in school is 100% different. When I was in daycare, I started learning how to read at 3. I remember sitting at the table and my teachers being like hard on me about like, okay, these are the sounds. And we would like do this thing where we would go from like one person would be sitting next to the teacher and you had to kind of like do the sound, and then you have to go back to the end of the table, like, you know, just kind of drilling us. So it's just different. And then also when I was living in Texas, I feel like I had a more intensive education than when I moved to Georgia. And so now I am raising my kids in Georgia. And then what I also thought about as far as education is my grandmother, she didn't even finish high school. I think she stopped in middle school because she had to take care of her siblings so that her parents could work, and things were different. And so all of her kids, for the most part, she had a total of 10 kids. Most of her kids went to college to get a degree. Do you think that my grandmother was helping them do their schoolwork? No. What she was probably instilling in them was the importance of their education, because that's something that she wanted for herself. So I'm not saying it as if she didn't care about it, but what I'm saying to you is that she was not at home also teaching them. Right? So once they got out of school, they were left to be kids. Like, now their life was a little bit different, so some of them worked, but for the most part they were just at home being kids. They didn't have an objective when they came home that their parents were there giving them all this extra instruction. So to me, things are no different in that way. So I think there has to be a meeting of the minds to understand what is happening in the curriculum and what is happening with the school system. But I feel like the school system was set up probably initially to educate kids, but secondly, it was set up so that kids would have some place to go all day, so that the people who are in charge and want to make money will be able to have workers, because they can't have people in factories all day if their kids are at home by themselves, right? No, the kids need to be somewhere while the adults are somewhere. So that's initially why it was set up. And so I think right now it's just a place where kids go. And I know I work for a place that is, and I can't even talk right. It's like, do you work, girl? Get your words out. That teaches teachers. And so when I tell you they're some of the most hardworking, kindest, thoughtful people, I'm so serious. So I'm not saying this to bash the teachers, because it's not the teachers. They don't decide what goes on in the classroom or what needs to be taught in the classroom. They can be there to supplement what's going on in the classroom, but they're responsible for whatever the curriculum that they're given through their administration, right? But I say, what is the goal of the administration? What is the goal of the school? What is the goal of education for our country as a whole? I think that's where we have to start. And I don't think that the parents that I know, even if they're not some gung-ho tutoring their kids for hours, I know that they care about their kids and they care about their kids being successful. And they're just not whatever, I don't care, just let them listen to Pound Town. That's just not what's going on with the millennial parents that I know. Obviously, I don't know every millennial parent. So if there was something going on in the school system and the parents that I know of, if they were asked to do more to help their kids, I know that they would. If there was a particular thing that we needed to change and they wanted us to work on, then that is what would happen. So it's a society change. Everything is different. It's not just, the millennials are coming in and they're the worst parents. No. And first of all, we were parented by the generation that came before us, and they're still alive. So what did they do wrong? Essentially, is what you're saying. In their parenting, because they parent the millennials that are now parenting other kids, right? So what happened in the span of those generations that now you guys just think these kids are just going to be a mess because they're on their cell phone all the time? And while I do think that there are some issues with technology or distractions aren't new. They're just not new. Every child, when I was growing up, was not at home reading a book when they got home from school. So let's just be for real. They were playing video games, or they were just outside playing. And of course, I guess that could have its benefits of being creative play, social interaction, things of that nature. But that's not millennials' fault that everyone is at home on their computers and not really talking to each other. That's not millennials' fault. So yeah, I'm just going to end there with just a few of the thoughts that I was thinking about this little conversation about millennials being bad parents, and I'll save my other thoughts to kind of think through them a little bit more and have some critiques for you guys. So yes, I will not talk to you before the new year again. So happy new year, and I look forward to being able to grow in 2024 with you. If you have any topics or ideas or questions for me, definitely make sure to put them down in the comment box, and I will see you guys in 2024.